Well, I think that the potential has been going up in part because both sides are deploying more and more forces into close proximity. The good news is that both sides have generally avoided moving military forces. They mostly have law enforcement vessels and aircraft in the area. But the more people who are around, the more ships, the more planes, the greater the possibility of an accident. And one of the most disturbing aspects here is that neither China nor Japan seems to be especially worried of the potential for inadvertent escalation or accidental conflict. I think both countries are much more focused on the possibility of deliberate escalation. And one of the things that the Kennedy School in particular, and folks like Graham Allison have always emphasized, is the issue that crises develop momentums of their own. And that's something that neither Beijing nor Tokyo seems to have fully taken into account. Well, I think it was Einstein who said that the most powerful force in the universe is that of compound interest. And China has been doing double-digit increases in its announced defense budget for almost 20 years now. So at some point that really begins to kick in. And we see a very comprehensive Chinese military modernization across all its services, not only in terms of weapons and equipment, but in terms of doctrine. And all of this adds up to the potential of shrinking the traditional American leads in quality, layered on top of a traditional Chinese advantage in quantity. So I would say, especially in the face of sequestration, that this is definitely something that American defense planners and foreign policy experts should be worried about. Well, unfortunately, we may have already started to see policy changes. Beginning around 2008, we've seen China become much more assertive on territorial issues and a willingness to antagonize almost all of its maritime neighbors, from Japan and South Korea in the northeast to the various Southeast Asian countries to also India over border issues. So as China becomes ever wealthier, it's an open question whether or not that's going to cause the Chinese to be even more assertive. Again, in the face of American economic issues, a failure to come to grips with budget problems and the like, whether or not the United States is prepared to counter a more assertive China is, I think, going to be the salient issue for the next decade.